Sutra. Then the world-honored one upon the lion's throne emitted simultaneously from his five extremities a precious light, which shone far throughout the 10 directions, to anoint the crowds of as many thirsty ones and Dharma Prince Bodhisattvas as they are most of dust. Commentary. Then the world-honored one upon the lion's throne emitted simultaneously from his five extremities a precious light. Sitting on the lion's throne, Shakyamuni Buddha emitted light from his two hands, his 2 feet, and the top of his head, all at the same time. The light shone far throughout the 10 directions to anoint the crowds of as many thirsty ones and Dharma Prince Bodhisattvas as they are most of dust. Shakyamuni Buddha anointed the crowds of the thirsty ones as a representation that his Dharma is the highest, the summit. The way of all Buddhas is the same. The thirsty ones of the 10 directions also proclaim this summit Dharma, just as Shakyamuni Buddha is doing now. The way of all Buddhas is the same. It is mutually interpenetrating. Sutra. All those thirsty ones also emitted from their 5 extremities precious lights, which were as numerous as motes of dust, and which came from the various directions to anoint the crown of the Buddha as well as the crowns of all the great Bodhisattvas and Arhats in the assembly. Commentary. All those thirsty ones as numerous as the fine motes of dust throughout the 10 directions also emitted from their 5 extremities precious lights, which were as numerous as motes of dust, and which came from the various directions. Precious light also issued forth from their 2 hands, 2 feet, and from the tops of their heads, light just like that which Shakyamuni Buddha had emitted. The light came to anoint the crown of the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, as well as the crowns of all the great Bodhisattvas and Arhats in the assembly. Sutra. Groves, trees, pools, and ponds all proclaimed the sound of Dharma. The lights blended and crisscrossed like a jeweled silken net. It was an unprecedented event for everyone in the great assembly, and they all attained the Vira Samadhi. Commentary. Groves, trees, pools, and ponds all proclaimed the sound of Dharma. The flowing water, the breath of wind, and the rustle of the trees all expressed the Dharma. The lights blended and crisscrossed like a jeweled silken net. The lights of the Buddhas of the 10 directions anointed Shakyamuni Buddha's crown, and Shakyamuni Buddha's light anointed the thirsty ones in the 10 directions, as numerous as motes of dust. The lights pattern appeared to create a magnificent net. It was an unprecedented event for everyone in the great assembly, and they all attained the Vira Samadhi. They had never before seen such auspicious portents, and everyone there obtained the Vira Samadhi. Sutra. Then the heavens rained down hundreds of precious lotus flowers of variegated combinations of green, yellow, red, and white. All the space in the 10 directions turned the colors of the 7 gems. Commentary. Then, when everyone in the great assembly attained the Vira Samadhi, the heavens rained down hundreds of precious lotus flowers of variegated combinations of green, yellow, red, and white. These 4 colors appeared in various combinations on the petals of the lotus flowers. Some green lotuses were accented with touches of yellow. Some yellow lotuses had red dots on them. Some white lotuses were flecked with red. All the space in the 10 directions turned the colors of the 7 gems. The 7 gems are gold, silver, lapis lazuli, crystal, mother of pearl, red pearl, and carnelian. All the ones turned these colors. Sutra. This world with its mountains, rivers, and great earth disappeared totally, and all that could be seen were lands as numberless as motes of dust, coming together as one realm. Pure praises in songs and trance spontaneously pervaded in celebration. Commentary. This world with its mountains, rivers, and great earth disappeared totally, and all that could be seen were lands as numerous as motes of dust, coming together as one realm. Our world is called the Saha world. The name is able to be endured, representing that living beings are able to bear the suffering and distress of this world. Actually, it's unbearable, but beings go right on bearing it, not admitting the suffering. They take suffering to be bliss. They think it's fine here. At this point, however, the Saha world disappeared. That was due to the transforming power of spiritual penetrations, which Shakyamuni Buddha used. In that assembly, the Buddha lands as numerous as grains of sand, multiplied by grains of sand united. They had been distinct and individual, but now they came together as one. Pure praises in songs and trance spontaneously pervaded in celebration. Pure and clear sounds of music were heard everywhere. Before this, the groves and trees, the ponds and pools had expressed the Dharma, but in this place, everything proclaimed the Dharma sound in subtle songs and trance. The water flows, the wind blows, proclaiming the Mahayana in pools of 7 jewels and lotuses, of 4 colors and waves of solid gold. Manjushri selects the organ of entry, Volume 5, Chapter 3. Sutra. Then the third command said to Dharma Prince Manjushri, "You should now contemplate these 25 great Bodhisattvas and arhats who are beyond learning. Each has explained the initial expedient in his accomplishment of the way. All say they have cultivated the true and actual perfect penetration. Their cultivation is equal without distinctions of superior and inferior or earlier and later." Commentary. Then the third command, Shakyamuni said to Dharma Prince Manjushri, "You should now contemplate these 25 great Bodhisattvas and arhats who are beyond learning. Take a look now, reflect on the Dharma door which each of these 25 sages used. Beyond learning refers to those who have been certified to 4th stage arhatship or above. Each has explained the initial expedient in his accomplishment of the way. All say they have cultivated to true and actual perfect penetration. They attained genuine perfect penetration of the sense organs. Their cultivation is equal without distinctions of superior and inferior, or earlier or later. In fact, there is no way to distinguish them as better or worse, excellent or deficient, or more or less advanced." Sutra. I now wish to cause Ananda to become enlightened, and so I ask which of these 25 practices is appropriate to his faculties and which will be, after my extinction, the easiest expedient door for living beings of this realm to enter in order to accomplish the Bodhisattva vehicle and seek the unsurpassed way. Commentary. Shakyamuni Buddha says, I now wish to cause Ananda to become enlightened. Ananda is still a first stage arhat. I'd like him to become enlightened and attain the second, third, or fourth fruition of arhatship. And so I ask which of these 25 practices is appropriate to his faculties, which one is right for someone with Ananda's abilities. There are 18 realms and 7 elements. Which Dharma door is most appropriate for Ananda, and which will be, after my extinction, the easiest expedient door for living beings of this realm to enter in order to accomplish the Bodhisattva vehicle and seek the unsurpassed way. The living beings referred to here are us. whereas the Buddhist lecturer hearing this Dharma are just the ones he means. You who read this sutra now are also included. So don't set yourself apart and say, I'm not included. You just mess yourself up that way. If you put yourself outside, you will fall in the future. And if you become a horse, cow, dog, chicken, or pig, it won't be easy to get to listen to the Shurangama Sutra. For one thing, you'd never make it up the 4 flights of stairs to the lecture hall. In Hong Kong, ducks came to listen to my sutra lectures, but that was on the ground floor. Long ago, Shakyamuni Buddha arranged our seats in this Dhamma assembly that is now taking place. Don't take yourselves too lightly. Of course, if you don't come to listen now, you won't have a share. Which of these Dhamma doors will be found most expedient by living beings of the future who have great faculties and who, in every thought, seek the unsurpassed way? The Buddha asks Manjushri Bodhisattva, which Dhamma door will most easily bring success? Manjushri Bodhisattva set your mind to it and select one. Sutra. Dharma Prince Manjushri, receiving the Buddha's compassionate instruction, arose from his seat, bowed at the Buddha's feet, and, basing himself on the Buddha's awesome spirit, spoke verses to the Buddha. Commentary. Dharma Prince Manjushri, receiving the Buddha's compassionate instruction, arose from his seat. Wonderfully lucky Bodhisattva was directed by the Buddha to select from any of the 18 realms and 7 elements a method of attaining perfect penetration. He was to find the one most appropriate for another and for us to cultivate. The 6 sense organs, the 6 sense objects, and the 6 consciousnesses make up the 18 realms. Earth, wind, fire, and water, along with emptiness, consciousness, and perception, are the 7 elements, as was explained in detail previously. Receiving this compassionate instruction from the Buddha, Manjushri Bodhisattva arose from his seat, bowed at the Buddha's feet, and basing himself on the Buddha's awesome spirit, spoke verses to the Buddha. The Bodhisattvas and Arhats all have places to sit around the Buddha, unlike five-head Vara, who must stand in the assembly. Verses can vary in number of feet and lines, but they all contain the principles of the sutra. Sutra. The sea of enlightenment in nature is perfect and clear. Complete distinct body is a miraculous source. But when basic brightness shone so that objects appeared, with the object's existence, the nature's brilliance ceased. Commentary. The sea of enlightenment in nature is perfect and clear. The sea of enlightenment is boundless, containing within it all the mountains, rivers, and great earth, the vegetation and myriad appearances. The nature of the sea of enlightenment is both clean and perfect. Complete distinct body is a miraculous source. The clarity of perfection of the sea of enlightenment is fundamentally subtle and wonderful, but within this subtlety of a single truth, falseness arises, and the light reveals the arising of objects. But when basic brightness shone so that objects appeared, with the object's existence, the nature's brilliance ceased. Basically, the sea of enlightenment contains everything within it. There is nothing which is not in the nature of the treasury of the thirst come one. But as soon as there is a single ignorant thought, a falseness arises. Once there is falseness, there are objects defiling appearances. Because of this falseness, the inherent light of the enlightened nature does not shine forth, just as when the sky is covered by clouds. Sutra. Confusion and falseness bring about emptiness. Relying on emptiness, time and space take form. Thoughts settle, making countries and lands. What knows and feels becomes living beings. Commentary. Confusion and falseness bring about emptiness. Because of falseness, subject and object come into being. Basically, both aspects are false. In the substance of the sea of enlightenment, not a single Dharma stands. There isn't anything at all, but the staring produces the appearance of fatigue. After a sustained period of time, protraction brings about fatigue, and then falseness and confusion give rise to emptiness. In the sea of enlightenment, there isn't anything, not even emptiness. The verse says below, the emptiness created within enlightenment is like a single bubble in all the sea. How insignificant that is, and yet we think of emptiness as being so vast. Relying on emptiness, time and space take form. The 10 directions and 3 periods of time come into being. Thoughts settle, making countries and lands. Once time and space arise out of emptiness, then false thinking becomes solid, making the lands. What knows and feels becomes living beings. Knowledge and sensations turn into living creatures. Sutra, the emptiness created within great enlightenment, is like a single bubble in all the sea. Lands like fine dust motes, subject to outflows, all come forth out of empty space. Just as the bubble bursts, space is no longer there. How much the less the three states of being. Commentary. The first lines of the verse said, the sea of enlightenment in nature is perfect and clear, complete. Distinct body is a miraculous source. The perfection of the pure source of body is extremely wonderful. Now the verse speaks of the emptiness created within great enlightenment. We all are aware of the existence of emptiness. But do we know where it came from? I believe no one knows. That's because emptiness is so vast. It's impossible to know the limits of empty space or its source. Who is the mother of emptiness? No one knows. But now the Shurangama Sutra points to the source. Emptiness is born from the nature of great enlightenment, and yet within that expanse it is extremely minute. How big is it? It is like a single bubble in all the sea, like a little flake of foam in the ocean. Lands like fine dust motes, subject to outflows, all come forth out of empty space. There are three categories of outflows: outflows of desire, outflows of existence, and outflows of ignorance. Neither lands which have outflows all come out of emptiness. The emptiness came out of enlightenment, and the lands came out of emptiness. Just as the bubble bursts, space is no longer there. In the same way that a bubble pops on the ocean, the emptiness disappears in the great enlightenment. How much the less the three states of being. Sutra. Returning to the source, the nature is not two. Many are the entrances through expedients. None of them does the sagely nature fail to go through. Compliant or adverse, all is expedient. First resolve and entering samadhi. Come slow or fast as there are different norms. Commentary. In his verse, Manjusri Bodhisattva says that emptiness is like a bubble in the sea of enlightenment, and that countries and lands within the emptiness are also extremely minute. If emptiness disappears, all the countries and lands, the mountains, rivers, and the great earth, and the sentient and material worlds all disappear as well. When one cultivates this Dharma door, returning to the source, the nature is not two. Returning to the source means accomplishing Buddhahood. There is only one place to return to, and that is your original home. This world we people live in is not really our home. I have a home, you protest, but that house is not your genuine home. To become a Buddha is to find your genuine home. Before you become a Buddha, you are a vagabond. Moving from hotel to hotel, you are always on the move. Many are the entrances through expedients. Being expedient means being unattached. For example, once there was a child crawling toward a well which was flush to the ground. If the child had continued, it would have fallen into the well. The Buddha saw this, but he knew that if he called the child back, it would not have listened, but would have continued to crawl forward. So he made a fist with one hand, held it out, and called, "Child, come back. I have candy in my hand for you. I have candy. Do you like candy?" When the child heard there was candy, it turned around and came back. There was no candy in the Buddha's hand after all, but was the Buddha lying? No. That is an example of an expedient method. He used his empty fist to save the child because there was no other method that would have worked at that point. The doors of experience are uncountable. In general, whatever method will save a person is a Dharma door you use. None of them does the sagely nature fail to go through, compliant or adverse, all is expedient. When you are certified to the Dharma nature of a sage, there is nothing you cannot understand. What is compliant is expedient, and what is adverse is also expedient. Whatever complies with your abilities and circumstances, you can use in your cultivation. What is adverse, not in accord with your situation, can still be applied to your cultivation. Both the compliant situations and adverse ones in which you cultivate are the expedient Dharma doors. First, resolve and entering samadhi. Come slow or faster as there are different norms. Some cultivate more quickly, some more slowly, so they can't all be lumped together. Sutra. Form and thought combined become the dust. Their essence is not discernible. How can one use that what lacks clarity and expect to gain perfect penetration? Commentary. Form is created from false thinking. Form and thought combined become the dust, the defiling objects of form. Their essence is not discernible. It is not clear and comprehensible. How can one use what lacks clarity and expect to gain perfect penetration? Can you expect to attain the Dharma door of perfect penetration with a method that is neither clear nor ultimate? That is impossible. The verse goes on to say that using the sense object of form to cultivate perfect penetration is not the best method. Some people are able to be certified to the fruition through this method, but only because they have special conditions with that particular Dharma door. It is not something that most people can cultivate.